Alright folks, this is going to be an interesting video. Pretty spectacular crash. This is the first time I've used flight gear. Um, I've never flown a plane by myself before. I do have a friend who has a plane, and he let me kind of fly it, but not really. He did the majority of it. He controlled the rudders and all the rest of that, and I just used the controller. So it was interesting, and this was interesting to learn about. So um, what I found interesting here was the starting sequence. That was interesting to figure out how to do that. So um, doing the priming and all the rest of that, and then cycling between the views to find the cockpit. The biggest problem with the cockpit was the field of view. So if I return back to near the beginning here, figuring out turning on the batteries over here, hitting the primer over here, putting the throttle 10%, putting the mixture up, increasing the throttle once you hit the starter button. So that went reasonably well. It only took me 3 flights to do that. And what you see now is what I achieved. And so the chase view is probably the best because you get to see the spectacular crash. Now, I found out after the second flight or the third flight that the ailerons here, or whatever they're called here, I'm sure there's lots of pilots who will watch this, and as I said, farthest from the expert, so you can fill the comments all you like. This was just for shits and giggles. These ones here were not set right on the first flight. They were set down like parking brakes or air brakes, and I was just doing up and down and up and down. It was very interesting, so I figured out how to set that. But I'm still figuring out the rest. This one went actually quite well. I was able to take off and do a somewhat level flight, and then I got a little into it and bored and started playing with the rudders and the ailerons and everything else. Whether I'm using the right words or not, I'm not sure, but and then it started to go south, or actually much more correctly, gravity kicked in and it went straight down, shall we say. So that's coming up momentarily, but it's an interesting simulation, and I'd like to see if I can extend this. I just started learning about it, if it'll do a triple monitor display, because if it did, where you have one in the center cockpit and the other 2 on the side monitors, this would be quite spectacular. So yeah, so as you can see here, the flight goes pretty well. I'm playing around, and I've lost the airport. I start to turn around to find it, and I head back towards it, and then I just basically crash. And here we go. I think I got those parking brakes on right there. I thought I saw them. They were down, so that was when I started playing with it. Anyway, I think that's about it for this video. Alright, if you find it interesting or you have any tips, throw them in the comments below. Like I said, nowhere near the expert. This was just for shits and giggles. Alright, adios.